was the first time?
Well, okay, people say, I see a lot of people, and people say, and I think it's a good thing. But I see people say, thank you for your service, and people say, oh, you served in Vietnam. No, I fought in Vietnam. Okay, and I take nothing away from anybody that went to Vietnam or anything else. I can only tell you how it affected me and what my perspective of it is. But if you served in Vietnam and you were, let's say, you were a clerk, a clerk typist, and you sit in a room all day in Saigon or somewhere, or um, and filled out paperwork, well, you served in Vietnam. But to me, serving in Vietnam is one thing. Fighting in Vietnam is another thing. What was Vietnam from the day I got the day I got on that truck to go to my unit till the day I left was hell. There was, and you said front lines. There is no such thing as front lines in far as I'm concerned in Southeast Asia. Every single day we were either what they call humping, moving, cutting your way through elephant grass that would just rip your arm. You'd walk through this grass and it would just slice your arm just like a knife, and your arms would be bleeding, and you're cutting through this jungle, and just to get to a place and try to find Vietnamese. I mean, that was our job, is to find the Vietnamese and eliminate them, basically. So it was all day, all night. I mean, literally just I'd say probably psychologically speaking, I think you said that was, um, and how does it change you? Is it you're in war? I mean, it's not so much that and honestly, after a while, you don't think about dying. You don't think about people killing you. You're just thinking about you got to go from here. It's just like every single day is a survival. You're just trying to stay alive, and that's all. Um, I don't know why. Like I said, I was scared to death, but after a while, I got to a point where I I just wanted to get involved in like the dangerous things. I did. Um, I always liked to walk point because I knew if you walk point, you know what's coming, and you know how to. Eventually, you learn how to react to it. You can, but if you're 10 people deep and there's a guy up there and he walks into an ambush, you have no idea what's going on in front of you or on your flanks and stuff like that. So I like to. After a while, I kind of like the danger part. Most people didn't like to do it, but I like the going into tunnels. Uh, I like to,
Were there a lot of tunnels?
a lot of tunnels,
So,
underground tunnels. The Vietnamese they're, this is their life, and they would literally have um, hospitals underground, and you go down into what they do is they put you into one guy would hold your feet and they put you down. You go head first into a tunnel, and before you go into a tunnel, they'd give you some guy would hand you a 45. That's the only weapon you take with you because you couldn't get in this thing. Because remember, Vietnamese are a little bit smaller than we are, but you took this 45 with you. And the first time I went in the tunnel, I said, "Why am I taking? What is this going to do to me? If I go into a tunnel and it opens up and there's uh, 20 or 30 Vietnamese in there with AK-47, I said, what's this 45 going to do?" He said, well, that's a simple question. He says, if you go into a tunnel and there's 20 or 30 Vietnamese with AK-47, you take that 45 and put it right here and pull the trigger because you're not coming out. I'm thinking, wait a minute. So I'm taking this okay, all right. 45 is for, okay, I get it. But fortunately, obviously, I never had to use it. But you could go in there, you go up and be, of course, it'd be dirt, but it'd be a room big as this room, and or bigger, and you could see they would normally they obviously they know you're coming, so they would leave. They would leave all their stuff behind. And, but you walk on these trails um, in pursuit, and the fact that I was in the 101st, their goal in life was like any other unit in Vietnam, I guess, is body count. And I don't know why or how I got this, but it's laying back there. I'll show it to you.
Okay.
But it's when I went in one of the tunnels, which was a hospital,
Yeah.
and it was cleared out. And I brought this back. I don't know where I got it or how I got it, but it's a cartoon of Seven White and the Seven Dwarfs. It's in Vietnamese, and I took it out of a tunnel. Now I don't know. Somebody, it might be somebody might like that for a museum or something. Maybe not. I don't even know how it came about or where. But I thought that was kind of neat, and I brought it back. I just stuck it in a frame, and
I want to see it for sure.
yeah, I'll show that to you. By the way, I've never talked to anybody about it. No one's ever asked me, and I never talked to anybody about Vietnam or war or anything, because I just think there's people that have their perspective and their opinions, and why did why did I go to Vietnam? I went to Vietnam because I was told to. The way I was raised, if people tell you to do things, you do it, And I went. I'm not sure it was so much patriotism at the time as was it because I was told to do it. And I guess if you're threatened and it says you're gonna go to jail or you're gonna go to Vietnam, I guess that's not much of a choice, I guess. But I didn't do it because I was waving a flag, but I did my I went and did my job, what I consider I did my job. Of course, you might ask, well, wait a minute. And by the way, not only was I in combat in Vietnam, almost 20 years to the day, I was in Iraq, which is probably another day, another time. But so over the span of my 30 years, like I said, it was all combat units, combat related, and
You did 2 tours of Vietnam. Did you volunteer to go back on the second tour?
I volunteered.
So
I think this is what I think it. Like I said initially, I didn't want anything to do with it, but it's somewhere there was something that changed my mindset about. I don't want to do this. I don't want to fight. I want to fight. I want to do this. They could say killer instinct, but it was. I didn't have anything to prove to anybody. But the first tour was with the 101st. I became really, really I don't want to say this. I became discouraged or scared. I was more scared because when you're in a unit and you're in a company and you're in the field, you believe it or not, when there's 20 people, there's 20 people doing, or probably not 20, probably maybe 60 people in the company or whatever, and they're all doing different things. And I realized after surviving for a few months that there's guys doing stupid things. I said I didn't want anything to do with this. I was scared to death with guys going to sleep on guard duty, guys walking outside the perimeter. And as soon as someone walked outside the perimeter, they normally they would draw fire, and we would be. You got a guy outside the perimeter, and people are shooting. Okay, well, we're going to shoot him, and then the Vietnamese are shooting at us, and I'm thinking, wait a minute, this is bad business. It didn't make any sense to me that to be in a unit like that. So I eventually went to Echo Company 111 Infantry, which is a LRP unit. It was 7 guys. You go out with 7 guys, and I mean that was strictly survival. Your job was basically to go out and basically hide and report. And then that's when they bring in all these guys that just would do dumb things, like I said, walk outside the perimeter, make noise, shine lights at night, light cigarettes. But with a 7-man team, you pull guard duty. Obviously, I could either whisper your name or not say anything, and you knew at 2 o'clock you would wake up and it was your turn to pull guard duty. I mean, it was just that's how light you would sleep, and then you get into a habit, and I knew everything about you. I knew all your moves. I knew how you would react. I mean, literally, you could do that with 5 or 6 guys. But there's too many people there. But
So there was a point where you have told, and I've not heard this story, where you were surrounded.
oh yeah, well, there's plenty of stories like that.
Do you have one of them?
Yeah, we when I was in the line company, we would basically hump all day, and at night, as soon as it started getting dark, you would break out your trenching tool. You had to dig a foxhole for that night to sleep in, no matter where you were at. And we got there, and it was right at dark. This one particular case, but this is many of those nights and days. And by the way, I really think that the Vietnamese would follow you all day, and they knew exactly where you were. They knew exactly what, we're Americans are creatures of habit, and they know, and I think they knew that, and they know exactly what you're going to do, and they would wait for people to do something stupid, like you start digging holes at night, making a lot of noise, guys breaking out sea rations and eating them and throwing the cans all over the place and lighting cigarettes and making noise. And so anyway, we were there one particular night. We were digging our holes, and some guy walked outside the perimeter for some unknown reason, I guess to go to the bathroom or something, and then all hell broke loose, and we were literally surrounded by I'm assuming we were surrounded by the Vietnamese, and they were just picking guys off at random and then we had, I don't know how many people killed, and they would attack us, and then they would back off, and then we would call for medevac helicopters. I remember my platoon sergeant. And this is a guy I really, one of the guys I've really respected and really liked him. And I remember just thinking to myself, my God, I just, it's almost like I wish, can they just kill me and put me out of my misery? Because, you got all these guys that's wounded, and I was pushing my platoon sergeant up into a helicopter, which was hovering. I remember physically trying to push him up, and I look up and his arm just fell off on the ground. And we picked another guy up, and one of his legs fell. I'm thinking, my God, and it's dark. You're scared. You just been attacked. You don't know what you don't know what to do. I don't think there's any words that could describe that situation. And so they take you out in 7-man teams, like I said, and you drop you off. And our job was for observation, basically. So we set up on top of this hill, and they wouldn't extract you unless you basically could give them some information, because they knew that the enemy was in that general location. And we set up on this hill for like 5 days. We didn't have any water. Water is you take water for granted, but food, I could do without food for a long time, but you can't do without water, because you got to remember, humidity is unbelievable. The temperature's unbelievable, and I mean it's just literally miserable. I mean the conditions, and now someone wants to kill you. So um, so anyway, we ran out of water. So I said, okay, I'm gonna take three. I'm gonna take you, and myself. We're gonna go down, take all the canteens. We're gonna go down and fill them up. And we'd sit there and hadn't seen anything. We were over watching a trail that was supposedly being heavily traveled by the North Vietnamese, and see, this is up in the DMZ, and it, on the not in the mountainside, but out where it flattened out. The North Vietnamese were bringing, actually in their backpacks, they were bringing landmines, and they were laying them out because we had APCs and tanks, so they were taking these landmines out and burning them. They had them on their back. But anyway, so we started down this hill. We got halfway down the hill, and as luck would have it, of course, I look, and here they come, a platoon of North Vietnamese came out of the wood line. So we stopped. There was three guys, we all had arm and hand signals right there. So I'm thinking, oh my God, there's no way we're going to get out of this, because we're literally surrounded by the Vietnamese. And I remember looking this guy in the eye, this North Vietnamese. He looked at me and I looked at him. Okay, so at this point I realized, okay, somewhere my training and my common sense had to take effect. So he did this. He brought his AK up. Well, as soon as he got it up right here, I was already shooting. So it was we were literally surrounded by those. So I stayed down. I told the other two guys to fire and maneuver back, and so fortunately they backed back into the wood line, and we were able to get back up on the hill. But I mean, it could have gone either way. I mean, I don't know that they didn't know they wouldn't that they had us outnumbered. Well, 20 to 3, I guess, would be the number. But I mean, that could have been the end of it. But it's just, it's something that you do. We had to have water. They wouldn't extract us until then. Once we made contact, they would pull you out. But they wanted you to make contact, and we made contact, and